Hi, and welcome back, everyone. Chapter 5 is going to talk about international selling, and international selling has become almost essential for companies to get involved in. It's caused quite the controversy, good sides and bad sides of international selling over the last few years. One of the things, I guess, with outsourcing has caused some bad feelings as far as lost jobs for the United States on it, and that can be good and bad. Some of the jobs that maybe were lost were jobs that a lot of people wouldn't have cared to have anyway on it. Also, international selling can increase your business opportunities for you, especially if your sales have maybe reached the saturation in the United States on it. For some of the reasons to be selling at a national level on it, trade can be due to the non-availability of a particular product. It's clearly beneficial when a country is able to import a commodity that it would not be able to produce themselves, whether it's problems with the quality of the land, or if they don't have the expertise, especially if it become in the area of technology, if they are lacking in that area, that it's helpful that it's brought into them. Trade due to international differences and competitive costs on it. So basically that countries will gain if exports products on which its cost production are comparatively lower and imports and products in which the costs of production are competitively higher. An area like that, the furniture manufacturing business in the United States has taken a huge hit on that. Used to be that a lot of furniture was made in the southern states, Carolinas, and basically pretty much all furniture has been now manufactured in China and sent over in containers. Has made a huge effect on the furniture industry in the United States. Another option could be that trade due to product differentiation. Many industries, the firm's products had some points of differences that distinguish them from others by the way that they're manufactured on it. Differentiation could be in terms of quality, design, or even intangible differences. And that can be, as far as British import cars and export cars. Cars is another area that has gotten obviously huge in the international selling area. Does anyone have any idea what is the number one selling car in China? It's kind of interesting that they like the Buick, so something that you probably wouldn't expect on it. Some of the reasons also that it's become essential for companies to be involved in international selling is that they become less vulnerable on the effects of economics or a recession, especially if they're dealing with different countries. Economics might be better in one country than it is in another. Helps to level out their profits and loss. Again, like I mentioned, it could be a loss of domestic markets due to an increase in competition. They can take advantage of faster rates of growth in other markets. The United States, the cell phone market has pretty much gone flat, but other countries it's growing quite rapidly. So it's kind of interesting facts that there are more people that have smartphones than people that have actually indoor plumbing, toilets, and people that have toothbrushes. So sort of is a scary fact that many people have smartphones or cell phones versus some of the essentials that we need on it. Also, it's a good way to, international selling is also a good way to dispose of any kind of a surplus that you might possibly have in your production. A loss of a domestic market if the product has become obsolete on it. Products that become technically obsolete in more developed economies might be appropriate for less advanced technologies. Like I said, cell phones in the less developed countries is a perfect opportunity for companies to take advantage of that. Can achieve the benefits of long-run productions and gain economies of scale on it. The firm can expand their production that will lead to a reduction in average cost and hence a reduction in the price, not only in overseas markets but also in their home market. The firm might have an expertise or knowledge of producing a product that's no longer available in a foreign market, and then basically the existence of potential demand that's backed by the purchasing power, which is probably the most important incentive of all on it. Like I said, there can be some pros and cons as far as international selling and some things that you might need to overcome on it, but obviously you need to set the objective, getting the right goods to the right places at the least amount of right time for the least cost is obviously going to be your objective. Another factor that you need to consider would be the physical distribution, how you're going to get the product, transportation, the warehousing, materials handling, and your inventory control on it. Several different factors: your customers' characteristics, your nature of the product or the service, the demand of the fluctuation of demand, what your competition is going to be. Legal regulations definitely is a huge factor and something you're going to have to examine when looking at selling into another country, and the local business practices on it. So several different things that you need to consider. Another huge factor also is the culture. Culture is the distinctive way of life that it's not biologically transmitted. Several different things, and you definitely need to be cognizant of when dealing with other countries. Power differences. The book talked about as far as low power distance, and that where people relate to more than one at equals on it, regardless of their formal positions. People tend to communicate with each other on a first name basis. The United States would be a good example of this. Subordinates are more comfortable with demanding the right to contribute and critique the decision making of their power. In a high power distance country, the less power except power relations that are more autocratic and paternalistic on it. They acknowledge the power of others simply based on where they're situated in certain formal hierarchical positions on it. So whether it's a country that is individually or collectivism, in individualistic societies, the stress is put more on personal achievements and individual rights. The United States would be another good example of that. In contrast, the collectivist societies, individuals act predominantly as members of a lifelong and cohesive group or an organization on it. So Japan could be another example, or China could be an example of being more of a collectivism. So an uncertainty avoidance index, that is referring to the society's tolerance for uncertainty and ambiguity. Relates to the extent to which the members of a society attempt to cope with anxiety by minimizing uncertainty on it. Cultures with a high uncertainty avoidance tend to minimize the occurrence of unknown and unusual circumstances. They're very cautious, step-by-step changes, and by planning and implementing their rules, their laws. So it's going to take a little bit more longer for them to adjust. Whether they're a masculine or feminine culture, masculine cultures value competitiveness, assertiveness, materialism, ambition, and power, where female cultures are going to place more value on relationship and quality in life. In masculine cultures, the differences between the gender roles are more dramatic and less fluid than in female cultures, where men and women have the same values, emphasizing modesty and caring. Whether it's a long-term orientation or versus a short-term, on it, long-term, they foster pragmatic values. indulgence versus a restraint, a society that might have a high rate of indulgence behavior versus a country that maybe wouldn't have quite as much. I included a YouTube video link of the top 15 international marketing blunders, and it's kind of interesting to take a look at that. It's very important for companies when they go to other countries, and especially with their advertising, to not make mistakes. The book and the video YouTube also talked about in Asia, where the Pepsi's slogan of "Come Alive" was interpreted as bringing ancestors back from the dead. In China, the Citibank's Citicorp's "City Never Sleeps" was taken that the Citibank maybe has a insomnia problem on it. McDonald's doesn't use the multiple fours in advertising prices. The word "for" sounds like the word "death" on it. When I worked with Chinese restaurants, even just in Sioux Falls, they're very particular about favorite numbers. They liked particularly the number 8. Have some high superstitions on numbers and bringing bad luck or good luck. The Ford truck, Fiera, meant ugly woman in Spanish. The Chevy Nova stood for no go in another country. The IBM solutions for a small planet, small world in Argentina failed because it failed to convey the desired conceptual item perception there. It's important that you maintain a respect for the country and, like I said, their cultures and their various religions on it. You can't go into another country and try to push your ideas to them. You need to have a respect for their culture. Also, the level of education is very important. In countries, if the literacy rate, possibly they use billboards for advertising that with few words so that people are going to be able to understand it. You'd want to make sure that your packaging and labeling would be adapted also. If you have any kind of written instructions, they need to be modified and maybe use more pictures or diagram on it. Political factors definitely can be important. Some countries don't allow advertising as far as advertising to children on it, or they don't allow any sort of smoking or cigarettes or alcohol advertising either. I feel that if it's at all possible, one of the best ways for a company to get themselves initiated into selling to another country is that it's important that they actually make a trip over there. That way they can get a real feel for what they're going to be approaching, what the culture's like. You can look at also hiring advertising agencies or an agency, but you need to do some careful investigation. It could be very easy that you get the wrong type of person or company, or maybe they are dealing with one of your competitions or not in your best interest. And especially if the agent is representing your company, it's important that you make sure that they're doing a good job and not tarnishing your image. Licensing is another way. Disney has been popular as far as doing licensing of their products, as far as their toys, games, videos. Again, you need to make sure that it's a company that's of high standards like yours, so that you don't have bad experiences or it's not going to hurt your business on it. So as far as with dealing with cultures, it's very important that you deal with in Japan, they work very slowly. They like to have meetings in person on it. Some different things as far as you just need to really spend a lot of time as far as describing your organization in detail. Japanese people like to have pamphlets and brochures that are going to just talk about your organization. They like to have some time to get to know you. They don't want you to be late or change your appointments on it. Allowing yourself to have plenty of time. You need to recognize that the decisions in Japan are made by middle management. You might meet the president as a means of formality and with the first call, but probably the middle person is going to be the ones that are going to be dealing with you. You don't want to have to push for close. They don't like to be pushed. They like to have their times, decisions made slowly on it, so they would feel rushed or pushed if you did. If you can use any Japanese language, always is important on it. Making your sales call very low key on it. Establishing a strong relationship, so they like to have an exchange of business cards. They like to exchange business cards every time on it, so that is very important. If you can use your business card with some Japanese language, and it would also be a good way to open up your relationships with Japan. Dress conservatively. They like to have a plain business dress on it. There also is the hierarchy, and with their Japanese business titles that's stated in this last slide here for the chapter. But lots of different things when you look at getting into other countries and things that you maybe need to consider that you want in the United States, but it does open up lots of opportunities on it. So our next video or PowerPoint presentation will get into sales preparation in Chapter 7. Thanks for listening.